Okay.
Good afternoon. I thank you all for joining us for our presentation today, COVID-19 Impact on Small Business. We had a good session this morning. A lot of good questions were asked, and we're busy trying to find the answers for those questions we didn't have answers for this morning, so we'll be happy to share with those with you on Monday. While we're waiting on the rest of the group to come on board, I thought I would kind of give you an introduction to the SBDC and exactly what it is that we do. We're an organization that's funded by the SBA and by the state of Texas to provide technical assistance to small businesses. We do it through mentorship, education, and collaboration. We have several partners that we work with throughout our network. Texas State SBDC serves 12 Central Texas counties, and of course those are all posted on our website. But throughout, there are over 1,000 SBDC subcenters like Texas State throughout the country. So no matter where you are, there's an SBDC there to serve you. We're still a little bit light on the number, but we'll go ahead and try to move forward with the process. I will say, let me back up a minute. Aside from one-on-one counseling, we also provide training and trying to do more specific trainings. And we also work with our partners at SCORE, the City of Austin, EGBI. The list is fairly long, but we will have, I think most of our partners are posted on our website, so you can direct link to their websites for their services as well. Our goal for today's meeting is to cover the basics as we know them. This is interesting because we had a session this morning that discovered, we talked about some things, and then immediately following that, I went into other sessions and found out that most of what I talked about this morning is in flux, it's changing. So you're getting the absolute latest data, but it is fluid. The updates are constant, and so as they discover challenges and workarounds, we're going to try to have that conversation with you and let you know what those workarounds look like. The goal today is also to listen to small businesses. We need to know what your challenges are. What is it that you're facing? Whether it's procedural or situational, we need to hear from you. And if we can't address the questions, then we'll, while we're in session, then we will find answers for those questions for you, and then try to get that back out to you in a report. Questions that happened this morning and this afternoon will be part of our presentation on Monday. The objective today is to focus on solutions by starting with the facts as we know them. Not going to sugarcoat it, and not going to say that we have the absolute answer, but these are the facts as we know them, and we're going to kind of work from there. We will try to find the answers for all the questions, and as when we open up the question and answer session, I'll try to answer as many of them as I can while we're in session, and again, follow up after that. We'll take a script and follow up. The Texas SBDC team has spent hours trying to filter through emails, websites, phone calls. So we're trying to do a lot of the work that's probably been hitting your email as well, and go through that and try to determine, well, which one is current, which one can be verified. We will not post anything on our website that hasn't been verified, but we are in the process now of updating the website because of some information we learned this morning that changes a little bit of the application process, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Most of the data that we're trying to do, again, we want to make sure that it's verified before we post, just to make sure that we're not giving any misleading information. On Friday of last Friday, all 254 counties were declared the COVID-19 disaster areas and eligible for the EIDL loan, or the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. And even as we talk now, there have been some changes, like I said, in that application process. But this application is not through the bank. It is directly through the SBA. If you'll go to their website, disasterloan.sba.gov, and you'll see the process of going through the application. And we're going to recommend that all of you now make applications, whether you are feel like you're eligible or not. What happens in that process is that they will make a determination. The SBA will make a determination on those eligibility points. So even if we were to have this conversation, we have put on our website certain information about what eligibility looks like, what loan criteria looks like, the use of loan proceeds, what those limitations are, and the terms and more. All of that's on our website. But we're not going to be able to review this with you on an individual basis, because that's what the assigned loan officer or case officer will do once they receive the application. The application now has come down from that original where we had a 10-document request, and then we had the list of forms, and now we're down to 3 forms. I think this is one of the things that they're trying to do to do a workaround for crashing the system. The forms that we need to have now for application process is Form 5, which is the business loan application itself. If you're a sole proprietor, you're going to need to do 5C. And then the Form P-019 is supporting information. It's designed specifically for the COVID-19, and this is going to help them understand your specific position as it relates to the damages. As I mentioned before, the 10 documents are good information. They're not going to be required up front, but they may be required by the assigned loan officer or caseworker at some point before your application process is complete. And some of the challenges that I know that we're hearing about is producing current and accurate financial statements. Some of you don't necessarily have that at hand. This is another reason why this has been shifted down to you'll need to pull it together, but you don't need it at the initial application process. Producing cash flow projections, the 2-year, month-to-month cash flow projections. Need to work on that, but again, not necessary for the application process. The pace of the process has been a little bit slow, as you all have recognized. The system is dumping us, the system is down, we're getting error messages, and so not only are they sort of changing the sheer amount of material in the application process to help speed this up, but they're going through maintenance on sites to try to stay as active and as possible, given just the sheer size of the demand that's hitting their systems. It's hitting all of our systems, I'm sure, and all of you have recognized how slow your home browser is working. So it's not much different for working with the SBA. I want to touch a little bit on some of the agricultural-related businesses that might be listening in. If you are a farm-to-table small crops farmer, there's a program that you're going to work through farmers.gov/coronavirus for your assistance. If you're a grower or producer of a large farm operation, right now there is a little bit posted on the USDA's Rural Development website for COVID-19, but I spoke with the head of funding for USDA State of Texas this morning, and they have not updated anything yet. So we're not ready to push anything out at this point. A big challenge that most of us are dealing with is expectations, and certainly as a program director, I'm always worried about the expectations that we create when we push out to information. And so I want us to kind of step back and be a little bit realistic about what expectations look like. I know when I was a business owner that the thing that I feared the most was payroll. Everything else had an option, but payroll had to be met. And so, I can't speak or change the speed of things up or to the guarantee of the outcomes, and I'm not sure anybody can. But with that in mind, let's be real. We're talking about some long expectations here that's going to require us to be a bit patient. is 3 to 4 weeks for processing the application once it's made. If it's approved, then it's another week before you're awarded the money. So just in those two statements alone, we're at 4 and 5 weeks out. Now, we're diligently trying to explore what gap financing might look like. And I was on a session this morning with several of the lenders and several of community leaders in cities, and they're talking about programs they're trying to put together as gap financing, money that can get to you quicker than the SBA money can, but they're expecting the SBA disaster loan to take them out at that point in time that you get approved. So all of this is still, like I said, somewhat fluid. We're trying to identify what it is, and I would like to try to make a presentation on that next week as soon as I can collect the data. I've worked with them to help me understand what programs look like, what the caps look like, what the terms look like, what's the application process, what's the turnaround time, and if there's any deferments that are related to that. So all of this information should be being collected over the next couple of days so that I can give that back out to you and give you some directions to where you can go for the interim. What can you do about the gap? The one thing we know is that denials will occur. In fact, one of them has already occurred, and we're working through that process. Let's talk about what the denial process looks like. What will happen is you'll get a letter from your case manager that says that your application is in a denial status. And they'll also provide you with the reasons for that. And what we're going to ask you to do is that we want you to reach out to your case manager at the Disaster Loan Processing Center. And the number for our region is 817-868-2300. And you'll reach your case manager through that process. Now, when you send your case manager an email notification, CC the SBDC's office that is related to your area. If you go to texassbdc.org, you can be able to identify by zip code which SBDC office you should be working with. But if you contact any of us, we'll be able to direct you to the proper center. Just let us know what it is you're trying to, where you are, and what it is you're trying to accomplish, and we'll help you get connected. By CCing us, that allows the SBDC to request the reason for denial and any related instructions from the case manager, so that then we can sit down with you all and try to walk through why it was denied, what additional paperwork and process might be necessary in order for us to resubmit and get this thing pushed through. I heard this morning that they are trying to be very lenient. I think some of the early applications created some process errors and some things that caused some early denials. But for the most part, they're looking for, if they can make this happen, they're going to. I do know there are some changes coming on the SBA side, but they are not posted yet. So as soon as they're posted, I'll respond to that. We are in a system overload here, so just keep in mind that, if your business received a sales order for 10x overnight and they wanted it delivered by next week, you'd have a conversation with your customer, because that's just a level of demand that we are facing, if not greater. And so I just want to keep things in perspective. Some of what the other programs that are in discussion but not yet offered up is the Express Bridge Loan Program for SBA. Still have no guidelines on that, or if that is going to be, or if or when that's going to actually be executed. The other thing that is still trying to clear Congress right now is the CARES Act. And most of that is still to be determined, but we do have some information related to that. The loan application will be a 7A application up to $10 million. It'll follow all of the same requirements, except that this one will have a little bit of a breather here, in that you have the potential for the money that you have spent on payroll over the course of the life of the loan, or the life of the period in damage, to actually be forgiven as that part of the loan. So you'll still be responsible for the rest of the loan, but payroll has the potential to be forgiven. The time frame that they're looking at is between February 15th through June 30th. It comes with a 4% 10-year term, and you can also have the initial payments deferred 6 to 12 months on the front end. It's 100% guaranteed, and this loan, unlike the EIDL, is you're participating with a bank who is familiar, who's working with SBA products. The payroll portion, I said, is subject to forgiveness, but there's one caveat between these two loans, the CARES Act and the IEDL, is that you can only take one of them. Now, you can apply for both, but you're going to have a point there where you're going to have to make a choice. Which one do I want to go with? The other thing is, I'd like to highlight the governor's website, gov.texas.gov/coronavirus. There's a lot of good information on there, and if we haven't answered your questions through our website or through this presentation, please reach out. There are some issues related to workforce that we're working around, and the workforce website is twc.texas.gov. A couple of things that they have on there that of interest is the employer fact sheet, the commissioner's letter to the employers, and the employer-related COVID-19 instructions. So with that, I would like to open up for questions, and let's see what we can learn from you all about what's working, what's not working, what your needs are. Certainly we understand they're urgent, so let's go from there. And I've got to get over here where I can scroll into those questions, so hang on a second. All right. Yes, the phone number 817-868-2300. The question from Laura is a business already, if a business already has a traditional SBA loan, can they defer those ongoing payments for 6 months? Or yes, all of it. If you have an existing disaster loan, that's automatically been deferred out for 1 year. If you have an existing SBA loan that is a 504, a 7A, or a micro loan, you are eligible for deferment, but all of that has to go through the bank of record. So whoever initiated that loan for you, you're going to have to go through them and request that deferment. And terms and conditions are really at the discretion of that lender. But at least you do have a pathway to try to get other loans that need to be in deferment status. And I might ask, if you have just a conventional loan, call your bank, have a conversation. The banks are trying to be as responsive as they can be. So there may be some deferment options there. I'm not going to say there is, but there may be. So. It's taken me a while to learn how to scroll this. This is my sort of 5th attempt at this process. So, and it's not scrolling. Give me a second.
Hey, so Joe.
Yeah.
There's a question that says, who will we find out the status of the application submitted? I'm assuming they're asking when.
Yeah, you can check your status. One of the bubbles on the SBA website is to check the status of your application. So you can go in and check on that, but you will also be working with a case manager. And so the case manager, once you you want to create that dialogue. Now, you're going to get a little overwhelmed with the busy signals because we're trying to call the 1-800 number ourselves and we're getting busy signals. And so you can imagine just the demand, sheer demand on that. But you should be getting a communication link that will help you work directly with your case manager. And so you can check the status. So if you've already filed your application, you should be able to go back in now with the information you have in your password and check on the status of that application.
Okay, are you able to scroll or do you need to pull?
No, it's not scrolling for me.
Okay, the next one I have from Kim, it said, would rent be part of the forgiveness program?
Yes, no. Forgiveness program, no. No, the only thing that's part of the forgiveness program, as I know it right now, is the payroll.
Another one from David, my losses will depend on length of shutdown. How do I estimate my losses and for how long?
Well, you've got that time frame that they stipulated out there, February 15th through the end of, what was it, July 30th, I think it was. I'll have to go back and look at my notes. But you're projecting what your losses are looking like in that time frame. And what was basically what bills could you not pay? Because they're going to take a look at your financials and make a determination of how much money they should actually loan out to you based on what your actual ongoing expenses, not new expenses. You can't create anything new, but the existing expenses, including payroll, versus what your current revenues look like or your current sales look like. And from there, they're going to make a determination of what kind of working capital you're going to need, what's your position. See, this is really just to keep you alive. This is just to keep you going until this thing turns back around. And so the loan is designed to help you meet your obligations, your current obligations, or the obligations you had at the point in time that you began to be impacted by the coronavirus.
Okay. Okay, the next one is from Nancy. For the construction industry, will contract employees be considered a part of accounts payable or payroll?
Contract employees are accounts payable. It's still covered, but it's not payroll if they're true contract employees. So, and this question came up. If you're 1099ing them, then they are independent contractors and they should be filing a Schedule C on their own tax return. So they would actually be able to apply for this loan as well. But their documents, they would have to be able to demonstrate that they have just what everybody else does. It's just they would be using their Schedule C as an independent contractor.
Okay, next question is regarding single member LLCs, do we file differently from others?
No. So, but you have a legal, well, the only thing that they're looking for on the LLC piece is if you have partners, known partners that are part of your organization, they're going to need to have separate personal financial statement declarations. So, but if you are just a single, then you still apply, but you're the only one they're going to be looking at.
Okay. We got another one from Nancy. So we should not reach out to our banker who is SBA approved?
Not yet, not for EIDL, because that is a direct SBA loan program. And your current banker will not be able to assist you with that. Now, we're still trying to clarify what it looks like for the Express Bridge Loan Program, and we're still trying to clarify what's going to happen with CARES Act. And we do believe at this point that the CARES Act is going to impact that would be more of a guarantee loan program that goes through the bank itself using the traditional 7(a). But all of this is still not verified. I don't mind sharing it with you, but it's not verified.
Okay, next one looks like it's from Cynthia. We barely have enough to cover all expenses to include payroll. If they forgive payroll, great. Can we just show them our payroll numbers for a year to get that money and be forgiven?
No, they want to see the whole, they're going to want to see the whole operation of the business at one time. So they need to see, again, this is not making a loan that extends out so you can do something other than what it was designed for. This is a loan for the purpose of meeting your cash flow needs for the period of the damages. So between February and July, those damages that you're going to are the damage that you will experience from your income that will not allow you to pay for your expenses that have already been established. That difference is what this loan is there to cover.
Okay, it looks like this one's from Takenya, and I apologize if I said your name incorrectly. It says, do I understand correctly that if I have the same people on my payroll a year from being awarded in a loan, the loan converts to not having to be repaid?
That is only being discussed and not declared. Again, that's the CARES Act loan. That's that 7A loan that would be up to $10 million that we haven't crossed over yet. We don't have all of the guidelines. In fact, it hasn't even finished going through Congress yet. So the expectation on that would be, if I understand how CARES Act will work, is once Congress has approved it, they'll push it down to the SBA, and the SBA has 15 days to put together all the guidelines. Well, you can already see that that's a 2-week timeline after it gets approved through Congress, and we're still trying to get it pedaled through Congress at the point. So, but that's the only one that has any forgiveness tied to it. All of the other loans are fully paid back, but the terms will be different. Because it really depends on your situation and how much money you need to borrow and how it impacts your cash flow. There is some deferment on that, but all of that will depend how much money you get and what your terms, and that's all negotiated at the SBA level. So I don't have that's not public information, so I couldn't share with you what that looks like. Just know that that'll all be part of the loan process.
Okay. Another one from Ryan. Let's see. Are commissions accounted for? Similar to Nancy's question.
Yes, it's a payroll expense. So if your payroll expense is commissions, then the last I heard is that still counts as a payroll expense, and that they would expect you to because that's a loss. That's a loss to the individual who you put in that position, and their salaries are based sometimes on strictly commissions. So that may be subject to a further review, but the last thing I heard was that was considered a payroll expense. I lost you.
Sorry. Okay. From Terry, is the CARES Act loan and other loans apply for at the same time?
Yes. Say again?
Is the CARES Act loan and other loans apply for at the same site?
No, they're not. You can apply for them as they come online. You can apply for both, but realize you can only execute one. So you have to make a decision which route you want to go if you've applied for both. But you don't apply for them at the same place. One is applied, the EIDL, you apply directly to SBA for. The other is an indirect loan that will come through your bank or a bank that participates with SBA loan products. And that you'll make that application through those banks. And you'll have to meet all the terms and conditions that the banks set forth for their lending criteria.
Okay, this is a good one from David. I'm having personal damage as well as business damage. Would this include personal rent and losses? No, this is only a business loan. Okay, from Nancy, do employees have to be on payroll since February 15th to be eligible to be part of the payroll forgiveness?
No, that doesn't. Now you're going to want to try to stay current on certain filings, but that's not necessary at this time.
Okay. how is the payroll works if we have to make payroll this week if we don't have cash flow from the past 2 weeks? I own a restaurant and we heavily depend on cash flow and it will shut down. How do we pay for payroll if we don't have cash to process the payroll? Do we tell our employees to file for unemployment?
Well, this is a real challenge. It's a decision that you would have to make as a business owner, but we are trying quickly now to put together some bridge loan programs. The city of Austin is working on one that they haven't announced yet. They haven't gotten the approvals on it. People Fund, they're working on it. Lift Fund, BCL. We have a lot of our partners, our lending partners, that have recognized the need. Communities and the community leadership recognizes that, look, it's a long time to get to the government money. What do we need to do? How do we take care of our businesses in the meantime? And so there are a lot of bridge loan programs that are being developed as we speak. I can't speak to any of them particularly because I haven't gotten all the information in about them, but I do know that I know of probably about 15 different programs right now that are in the process. I don't have any answers for you regarding that. If you had to let them go, I know the question came up this morning about, well, what happens? How does that impact my cash flow and my loan application? I've asked the SBA that question and waiting on an answer from that if you were to terminate your employees, lay them off this morning so that you could, because you can't make payroll, and they would then go into the coronavirus or the COVID-19 application process with Texas workforce. But so what is that? How will that impact you when you come back in and say, okay, now this was my cash flow? What we're looking at is I'm waiting for an answer from SBA to tell us if you can rehire them and in that process, or does that cut that cord? I don't have an answer for you there yet, but hopefully it's been submitted to the SBA, so hopefully I'll hear something soon.
Okay, I don't see any other ones. There was one with regards to how to apply, and I provided the link for that. So you can do it either online or through mail. They allow both options. The information is on our website with the address for SBA if you feel the need to apply through mail.
That's right. Now, if you do the long form or the long way, if you do a direct mail, it's going to extend that timeline quite a bit because most of the energy right now is focused on what's coming in online, so they can process quickly and move it off their desk.
Okay, Tammy, we are going to put this on our website. I'm trying to upload it today so that it's viewable for everybody. If we come across questions that Joe has to get some answers for, what we're hoping to do is Monday, right, Joe? Go back to those questions and answer those, because we are going to have another webinar. We're hoping to do this every day, just kind of give you guys an update on what's going on and any new things that have come across Joe's desk.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we are open to you all. We can be responsive to you all. I'm more interested in hearing the questions. I certainly want to share the updates, but I wouldn't look for the updates to be long. I'll try to be very direct with what they are, but I really do need to hear what's going on in the field so that we can address it. We can't address what we don't know, and this is a platform we opened up because we want to be able, it's primarily to hear what you all, what your challenges are, what you're struggling with, what kind of questions you might have, so that we can help get that answered and give you a little bit of face time. Otherwise, you just feel like you're just lost in a maze of emails and websites. And so I'm doing my best to try to provide clarity on a daily basis, and look forward to working with you guys next week.
Hey, Joe, we have a few more questions. I know you discussed this one, but can you go over this again? How long does the application process work? And then how do we find out about the status of the phone lines? It looks like they're ringing busy.
Yeah. And I can almost guarantee you, based on the bandwidth that I know that SBA has currently, understand SBA was never ramped up to deal with a crisis this size. And so they're hiring people as we speak, which means they got to hire them, they got to ramp them up because they just simply don't have the capacity. It's just overwhelming. And so when they say 3 or 4 weeks, I think that was based on information that they had. But honestly, even though we've had some that have turned around fairly quickly now, we've got one that turned around in a week and a half. I wouldn't be surprised if that timeline got extended just because they don't have the people power. It's one thing to even have the technology. It's another to have the people power. It still requires somebody to be able to review your application, to make sure it fits all the criteria, and then to engage with you directly. And when you think about the size of this disaster, most disasters that the SBA program has worked with have been localized to a region. You know, the Harvey and the Katrinas, and so now we're talking about nationwide, and now we're talking about something that is far greater impact on small businesses than either one of those could have ever dreamed of. So the capacity is it's probably going to grow. It's probably going to get, I suspect the timelines are going to grow. We're going to do everything we can to try to shorten that. We're trying to step up as SBA partners to try to provide as much assistance as we can, but also we have capacity issues. So how much can we get involved? It really has to do with, I have 12 Central Texas counties and I have 4 professional business advisors. So we're going to be busy. I'm sorry, what was the other question what was the other part of that question, Francisco?
He was just wondering where to find the status of the application.
Yeah. And when you open up the disaster page on the SBA, you get 3 little bubbles, and the 3rd bubble over there on the right will be able to check your status. So.
Okay, we got a few more questions rolling in. One from Laura. Hi, Laura. She's saying, what type of nonprofits are not eligible for the EIDL?
Right now, the only ones that I've seen that are eligible are the 501c3 and the 501c19, I think it is. That's the veterans business status. I do know that there's going to be a lot of changes related to which ones qualify. I have seen some information that comes out of the CARES Act that will begin to change a lot of the qualifying criteria. And I'm not sure if it's just qualifying criteria for 7A or if it may be qualifying criteria on both sides, the EIDL and the 7A. That remains to be determined at this point. But there are some changes that are going to occur. But right now, as far as I know, it's just the veteran status, veteran business assistant status, and the 501c3.
Okay, we have a question from Kimberly with regards to signing up for the webinar. Yes, ma'am. I am hoping to get with Joe today or this weekend so that we can get that link live, and we will actually put it on our website. Let me show you guys where you'd want to go once we do it. Give me 1 second.
Yes, we'll be working over the weekend.
Yes. So once we have it live, I'm probably going to put it right here under the training tab. And then if you scroll down, I'll put it right here under the featured events so that you can go ahead and register. And it'll be done the same way. We'll have it as a webinar, and I'll send the link out the day before the event. Okay. Okay, let me get back to the questions. Okay, any resources for small businesses with SBA loans that recently opened up?
Well, I've had that conversation with a couple of the SBA folks. The recent startups will qualify or are eligible. I don't know if they'll qualify. They're eligible to make application, but there's going to be some conditions they'll have to meet that are above and beyond the conditions that an existing business. And primarily because existing business has a history, a financial history that can be reviewed. A startup doesn't, and so there's going to be a stronger burden on the startup to prove their forecasted sales than would be someone who had a history. But I've been told that they can make application, but realize that might be a longer road to walk than if you were an existing business.
Okay, a lot of small business clients laid off employees this week. but would like to know when they can rehire.
Wow. That question is kind of out in the open right now. I've asked the SBA to give me some clarification of what happens with terminated employees and trying to bring them back on, and if you can do that using the loan proceeds. So that's the question that's outstanding, and it came up this morning. I submitted it to the SBA for an answer. Haven't heard back yet, but hopefully that'll be a part of our discussion on Monday. I'm sorry I couldn't answer. There's a lot of questions I know that I'm not giving very good answers on, but I'm doing the best that I can, and we'll try to get the right answer for you. I don't want to mislead you.
Okay, next one. I understand that we should apply and get information together. I'm only interested in forgiven monies for payroll. Do you know anything about that, or if there will be?
Say that again. I mean, it sounds like it's the CARES Act question again.
I understand that we should apply and get information together. I'm only interested in forgiven monies for payroll.
Yeah, that's not going to. You can't take a piece of it. You got to take the whole. So that's you can't just single out what's going to be forgiven and say that's the one that I want to take.
As CPAs, is there any provisions to recover lost fees? I still want to help clients even if they can't pay.
You know, I don't know the answer to that. That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I'll have to, but I would think that would go into your revenues covering your expenses. So if you're still working with someone, you're generating an expense. The thing that you would lose on that piece would be the profit piece. So you would only be eligible for your actual expenses and not any profits related to that. But that's just a guess at this point. That's a question that we'll need to filter through the SBA as well.
Okay, the next one is, what are the 3 forms we will need to fill out the loan application? Robert, on our website, we actually have those. It's got download business forms. There's the business loan application form 5. And then there's a home or sole proprietor loan application, that's form 5C. And then the economic injury disaster loan supporting information form P019. Okay, the next question. Can you discuss TWC's shared work program instead of layoff options? Could a business choose this option and utilize the payroll protection program?
Yeah, I talked with Kara from TWC yesterday or the day before about that program. I don't really know very much about it. There is a link that we have on the website. I haven't had a chance to actually read it. I'll be honest with you. I do need to dig in there and see if I can understand that a little bit more before I answer that question. I don't have enough information. I'm aware of it. I'm aware that of the program. I know it's on their website. It's just one of the things that I just haven't had the time to dig into yet. But I'll pay attention to that and come back and give you an answer. Okay,
so let's see. I know when I checked earlier, and it may be SBA down again, I'm not sure, but there's a question coming in. The 3rd bubble is telling us to contact via phone to check status. The site won't let us check the status online.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so that's another, here again, it's very fluid. Everything is changing. Yeah, and so so the number that I've given you should be the number you called in. Now, interestingly enough, I'm sure it's busy. It's been busy for me. I've been speaking with folks from the SBA this morning, and it's been busy for them. So it's a glitch we got to get worked out. We got to work around. So as soon as I know they're aware of it because we've been talking about it this morning. As soon as I know what kind of workarounds they've come up with, if it's additional numbers, if they're deciding that they're going to go ahead and let email communication work, or if the actual case manager is going to do an actual reach out to you. I don't know. Those are all options at this point, and we've talked about them. We'll just have to wait and see how that plays out.
Okay, this is regarding Texas Workforce Commission. I know that when you and I listened to that Facebook Live, There's a question from Rebecca. TWC is not answering phones at all. Who can we talk to for help when trying to find unemployment information?
Okay, I think they're doing the same thing that we are, is that the sheer demand for information is very difficult for us to manage the phone calls. That's why they're trying to put that information out there on their website with links. But if you will send us an email about that, and I'll try to get that email forwarded into them, and then I'll have a conversation with them about is there any other forms of communication rather than a phone call?
Okay, let's see. If we process the payroll, I'm not understanding this one correctly. If we process the payroll, how back the loan can go retroactive?
Yeah, the loan can go back to, will go back to February the 15th.
Okay, here's another one from Trish. Our nonprofit headquarters is in California. Do they need to apply there, or can we apply separately in Texas?
Good question, because that depends on the business, the corporation structure and the status. That would be a question that you would probably need to take up with the main office in California first.
Okay, I missed one here from Shelby. Is there a resource page link that we can go to regarding veteran-owned businesses?
Not yet. Something did pop up on my email this morning, and I have not had the time to get back around to it. Yes, but I'll take a look at that information that came out, because I did see something about providing that kind of assistance for the veterans-owned businesses. So we'll get that information and post it on our website as soon as I can filter through it and verify.
Yeah, I think that may be it, unless anybody else has any other questions. I do want to let all the participants know that as soon as Joe and I are able to lock down the Monday webinar, I will be sure to post that again on our website. If you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, please check the sites there too. I'll be sure to put it through all those social media platforms, okay?
All right, thank you all so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And if there's anything else we can do, continue to follow us. And if you need to, send me an email. I do get inundated. It's in the neighborhood of maybe 200 emails a day at this point. But I try to go through it. The big reason that I need to go through every page is there might be an update somewhere in those that I don't want to miss. And so get up early and stay up late and try to process it. So thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you all next week.